All right, what's up, everybody? We're back with another chat with Corin on Corin's World. And I don't know if you can tell by the handsome resemblance here, but this guy looks awfully familiar. So this right here, who I'll be chatting with today, is my brother Jedd.
Hello.
So Jedd has been my older brother for 30-something years.
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 30, so you've been my older
30
brother
years.
for 30. Well, technically, you've been my older brother for as long as you've been alive because it was
Nope.
in the cards that I was going to be your... No, okay.
Nope.
So Jedd is a jack of all trades. He is a Spanish...
Master of none.
No, he's a master of a lot. He is a bodybuilder. He is a world traveler.
Not right now, but yeah.
He is a teacher. He is a jiu-jitsu artist. He is a foodie. A what?
I'm a jiu-jitsu artist.
A
I just
jiu-jitsu
paint
artist?
the other jiu-jitsu players.
He paints a lot of jiu-jitsu artists. So Jedd is going to be a recurring, what would I say? A recurring guest on my channel. But I wanted to have you on particularly today because there is a hot button topic that a lot of people are discussing right now nationally. There was a huge scandal in the education world, college world. A lot of it was going on between the upper class, ritzy families, I would say, working with a private person to finagle test scores and to, take photos of their kids participating in sports, saying they were sports athletes, to have better access to get their kids into school when they might not necessarily have been eligible based off of their test scores normally to get into the schools. So I wanted to have you on the podcast because it was something that I was particularly interested in because I've seen a lot of people talking about it, a lot of different races, nationalities. Everyone is talking about it. Old people, young people, because it's a hot button topic that is of interest to everybody. So you being a teacher, and especially interesting to you, you've seen both sides of it. You've taught in a lower, what would you call that? Like in the Bronx.
Yeah, it was a rough school. It was a tough school. It drew on the entire community of the Bronx, Manhattan, and New York City for that matter.
So,
anybody from New York City could have gone to my high school, and some did. Some from Manhattan came to the Bronx every single morning. They missed 2 periods every day.
yeah.
And
So
they would
you've
just
seen
never be in your side.
you've seen the bad side of schools, not necessarily the bad side, but like the tough
No,
part.
I've seen the side of the schools where kids don't have advantages.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they have a ton of disadvantages.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a whole grocery shopping list of things to worry about before they're studying for their Spanish test.
Yeah.
And in addition to the students' issues, the administration has issues. It's a huge bureaucracy in the city. You've got a ton of levels.
So that's
Until you get down to the teaching level, and then once you're there, to get anything done is difficult. It's difficult.
So that's why I think this story is particularly interesting because, like many issues that are going on in our world right now, I think people see one issue with education and the parents having the access to, pay to basically get their kids into school. But then other situations start to arise in the conversation where you start to figure out, is there corruption in schools? Is there corruption in the workforce? Does this happen in other areas? So let me just back up real quick and ask you what were your initial thoughts on this story when you first heard it?
My initial thoughts were, I'm surprised it took this long to expose the big business that college and universities are in this country.
Mm-hmm.
It's like anything else. It's like any other exploited resource that people need. Mm-hmm. Anytime in this country, and listen, we're in a capitalistic society. People value getting to the top, earning profit. It's the nature of who we are as a country. I think you do that within reason, and you can live a happy life. However, there are a lot of institutions, businesses, insurance companies that thrive off of people's need for something. Pharmaceutical companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that colleges and universities are exempt from that list.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. And I've seen it from the time that I've been to college. You went to college. And where we are now, I've been seeing a steady increase in this competitive nature of the students. It's crazy. From where I was, where I took the SAT, I didn't have a tutor. I went in there. The first time I took the SATs, I fell asleep. And I had to take it again. Whatever. That was on me. But I took it again. I think I got in just below a 1,200 out of 1,600 at the time.
Yeah,
which was decent. But I was done with no studying. I just knew I had to take the test.
Mm-hmm.
I took that test. I had pretty good grades. I did a lot of extracurricular activities. And that was enough. That was enough to get me into one of the top state schools in New York. Angel mentioned it. We went to Binghamton. It's a great school. But where we are now, it's a totally different ballgame. It's completely changed.
So here's my question, because I think what got exposed is something that we already know, and it's something that Bernie Sanders and I think a lot of Democratic candidates are running their platform on now, which is something that is a need in this college, which is free education for
But I'll
people.
say it in one word. Even taking it a step further than that, inequality in this country,
mm-hmm.
whatever it is, if it's healthcare and I'm not going to get political with this, mm-hmm. or maybe we will, I don't know. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is it comes down to inequality. I work in a very affluent district now, mm-hmm. and it's a place where education is valued. And I'm very lucky to have great students, great parents. And these kids all understand that the next step is college. If they want to succeed in life, they have to get an education. It's instilled in them from a very young age.
Yep.
And that's what happens, because that's the culture of the environment in which I work. Go to the city, kids they're like, I'm just trying to survive. I'm trying to walk to school without getting jumped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. That's every day for them. That's their reality. So education isn't there. They don't necessarily see the value and where that can bring them. And if they do, they still have a ton of other obstacles to overcome in order just to get to where my students are right now.
100%. Yeah, they might not have the same computers or textbooks or resources that a school in an affluent neighborhood. Teachers, yeah.
Class sizes.
And to that point, teachers, they could be a good teacher down in the city, but they get so burnt out with it that it starts to affect the students in some shape.
I consider myself to be I work hard at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm passionate about what I do. I don't just teach a subject that I studied and I lived it. This is my passion. I've lived in the Dominican Republic. I've gone all over the Spanish-speaking world. This is something that I love. And I thought when I was working in the Bronx, I was just a bad teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is it. Either I'm going to quit teaching or find a job somewhere else, because maybe I'm just not cut out for this.
Yeah.
And I started working where I am now, and it's like a whole, I feel confident in what I do. I feel like I'm actually doing what I studied to do, and what I sought out to do.
So you see it at the level you're at now, where, I've been around you at your school, and I've seen it even at New Rochelle High School where I went to. It was, once you start getting to 11th and 12th grade, you really start honing in on, colleges, and it becomes sort of like a competition between kids of what school they're going to go to, between the Dukes and Michigans, and it starts with their parents. So when I saw this story, a lot of people aren't where we're from, where I don't think, I think where we're from in Westchester is we're in a bubble where we see stuff that doesn't happen outside of that area in New York, where parents are in a position where they basically can pick and choose anything they want to do, whether it's vacation or a job for their kid or school in this case. So when I saw this story, I really didn't think it was a huge deal, and I know that sounds bad, but I think this is. I think I was so blind to just this going on. It was just something normal.
But they took it to another level. I thought about it too, and I was like, well, people have been pretty much buying their way into schools for quite a while. Look at our president. Look at Jared Kushner.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not trying to get political. These are just things that happen. when your parents can donate a ton of money to a school, there's a really good chance you're going to get into that school. Or another thing is if you're a legacy. Yep. So if, I went to Binghamton.
Yeah. And
am I allowed to go to Binghamton? My daughter?
Yeah, I'm going to get in.
No, all I'm saying is that there's been levels of this going on. This is a whole other.
And that's my point, is just like, I think people like to just hop on a story because it's hot, because it's celebrities, because we like to bring down, affluent people who we know from TV shows or something like that in like a I got you moment. Whereas I think people were to take a step back and actually look at the bigger picture. By their parents doing this to their kids, paying for them to go to school, like, everything will happen the way it's supposed to happen. Their kids will go to school. They'll most likely like do drugs or something like that, potentially drop out, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to work out, in my eyes.
No, I'm listening. Okay, go ahead.
But I think this happens in everyday life. I mean, like, you look at celebrities. Most of the celebrities who are like old celebrities, like Denzel Washington, his son is now an actor. How do you think his son became an actor?
Oh, yeah.
Because his dad's an actor. Musicians, sure. Like Billy Ray Cyrus and Miley Cyrus. Like,
sure.
Everybody has. If your parent is fortunate enough to build an empire and become successful, you're going to have a better shot at getting into a college, whether or not you deserve it or not. Look at our president. So, like, this story of parents paying for their kids to go to school is not something new. It's not something that we haven't seen before. Like, it happens every day in business, and that's just where we are as a country. So
I think just to go off of what you're saying right there, this is a whole other discussion of teaching your kids as opposed to giving your kids. Being a teacher, it's made me aware of a lot of parenting mistakes, or I've been able to see it from a third-party perspective, and now that I'm in it, I can say, all right, this is one thing I'm definitely going to avoid doing. And one of the things is I'm going to have to accept the fact that my kid needs to go through adversity. Mm-hmm. She's going to need to go through some tough times and figure it out, and I'm not going to be there to protect her. Yep. But if she has the confidence and the intelligence to get through those situations, she's going to be fine. And she needs to go through those situations, because once she goes through adversity, then she'll grow, and she'll get stronger and smarter. And the problem with everything right now, I feel like, and I'm seeing this a lot just in life, day to day, is that parents are trying to protect their kids from that. And they feel like they're doing their kids a service by making sure that they don't feel that pain of
sheltering them,
at school, or making sure that if they have an issue with a bully at school, they're going to handle it, as opposed to, and I'm not advocating for violence or fighting. I'm just saying, give your kids the necessary skills in order to protect themselves and stand up for themselves. And listen, if these parents put as much effort into this whole college admission scandal, into what their kids needed to do actually in school to be successful, good human beings, it'd be a non-issue.
Yep.
It's like the endless tale of just put as much effort into the cheating as you do into the studying, and you'll be fine.
Yep. And I've always said that about people who are in jails, that, like, whether they're in jail for the right or wrong reasons, you see these people come up with the most, like, awesome ideas of how to, like, smuggle something out of jail or smuggle something into jail. And you're like, if you just, like, figured out how to put that invisible ink of heroin on your, like letter.
It's the evil genius in the superhero movie.
Yeah.
It's a genius, but he's evil.
Yep.
But if he uses powers for good, he would be all right. He'd figure out, like, how to mess with the stock market and do something legal.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's why a lot of the time, like, the FBI end up working with these people who are hackers, or, like, these crazy people that are, like, doing these intricate, like, stealing credit card schemes, because they realize this guy is a genius. We need to have him on our side. And whether or not the guy continues to work with them and, like, do the right things, that's on the bad guy. But what I was going to say is, back to my point of, I think everything eventually works itself out, whereas, like, those hardworking kids that you saw in the Bronx who are actually trying to make an effort and, like, busting their ass with essays and, like, going about things the right way, while it might be harder for them to get an opportunity, when they do eventually get that opportunity, they end up becoming, like, the president of, like, some club in college, or...
Yeah, but how many of those kids never made it far enough to even have that potential.
Yeah.
Listen, I had great kids in the city. I did. And while every day was another struggle and I was breaking up fights and physically just trying to keep everything under control, there were kids that were great. And they will never have the opportunities that those kids who were in this scandal will ever have. And if they had 1/10 of the opportunity, that you're right, they would be, because they understand the hunger, they understand the struggle.
Yep.
You can't give a kid something his or her entire life and then expect them to rise to the occasion when it comes time to produce for college, or it just doesn't. It's not going to work like that.
Now, I've got a feeling I know this answer. I think you're like a little more traditional when it comes to college, but maybe not. I've never asked you about it. But what are your thoughts on college even in general? So I knew a guy in Westchester that his son was a little out there, just like wanted to be a rapper and like had all these ideas to be, he was going to make it big. And but his father was like, I might as well just give him whatever, $30,000, $40,000 now to start his own company or try something out. If it doesn't work, maybe he'll try something out, but at least he'll be learning and he'll be figuring things out, and he'll be failing and having to like persevere through that. Whereas college is, you get your books, you go to class, you're with everybody else. Yeah, you're learning some stuff, but you're not actually on the ground doing practical things, which is beneficial.
So okay, in my opinion, I think that there's a middle ground. That is a successful model for this. And I'm not saying this is the way to fix this issue. I mean, right now, there's a college for everyone.
Yep.
If a kid wants to go to college, he or she can go to college.
Yep, I agree.
If they have money, they will go to college. I've taught kids, I'm like, damn, that kid is going to that school? They have the money, they can do it. The school's going to accept them. Someone's going to accept them. You think about all these schools that are in the middle of nowhere. That's just like some
SUNY Cobleskill. I wasn't the best high school.
$80,000.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
wait, say that again. That are like $80,000. Like,
they're like expensive.
Oh yeah.
There's small little
liberal arts school. Yeah.
Liberal arts schools, and kids will go there and they'll make their money. But I think the middle ground, right? And is that kid going to benefit from going to a English 101 class in the middle of Hamilton, New York? I'm just using Hamilton as school. I'm just saying, like, whatever. The thing that where I think you can balance it, like Bernie wants to do free education, but it's earned. It's not really given. It's earned. You have to have the desire to learn. Think about Dad. Dad went to City College for free.
Yep.
But only the best students got into City College because you knew that you were getting a free education if you busted your ass and you were going. That for me makes sense. I mean, if you know you can get it, it's like getting a scholarship because you're just a good student and you care about your doing well.
Yeah.
We're in a world now where a bachelor's degree now is high school. You're not going anywhere if you just graduate from high school. Back in the day, you graduate high school, you get a job, you support a family, you're fine. Now, everyone needs to get a bachelor's degree. And that's why this business has erupted where everyone needs to go to college. There's crazy competitive environment in school where kids are driven to cheat and do whatever they need to do because they know that everything is riding on this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that point, and I think that's where the corruption comes in, is because colleges realize that, like, hey, we live in a society where people have to come to college, and it's like everybody's charging. What's that?
Just like people need medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
Same concept.
And that's to my point is I think there is a road, and I think there is a way potentially where we start looking at, just figuring out a trade maybe in high school or something like that, and just learning that craft. I don't know if you saw Killer Mike's episode of on his trigger warning show or something like that, but like he was just explaining that like people don't know how to do practical things anymore, like picking up and fixing something, and that's something that you're good at. YouTube is good for that too, is like figuring out how to fix a TV or fix a light.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the vocational route has been just kind of looked at now as we're better than that. We send everybody to college. It's like college isn't for everybody. If you listen, people are handy, people are skillful if you give them something that they enjoy or they could potentially be good at.
Yep.
So if you put a kid who's good at working on cars, or maybe he's good at doing something with, like, as an electrician, you throw them in a sociology 102, whatever. I remember that class, at Binghamton. I was sitting there like, what am I doing here? I mean, I needed a gen ed, but I also knew that if I want to pursue my Spanish major and my political science major, I'm going to need these general education requirements, which is kind of a waste of my time. But you put a kid in that class that really doesn't care, he's wasting his money, he's wasting his time.
Well, that's why I think a lot of this stuff is useless, because I know for me personally, there's certain classes, and that's why this story resonated with me a little bit too, because I mean, like, you see certain situations where, like, there's always going to be a way to get around some type of schooling, or a way to cut a corner. So it's like everybody's doing it. It's just a matter of how much you're doing it, like how bad you're doing it. So, like, for an example for me is, there was a statistics class at Cortland, I'm wearing the sweater right now, that was impossible, and everybody knew it was impossible, and nobody could pass the class, and you needed it obviously to graduate. So there was Westchester Community College, which was in Westchester, that offered over winter break a 3 times a week class that you can take, and the credit transfers to Cortland. It ended up being like a super snowy winter. The class met one time. We had one final. We all passed. So it's like, I look at that and I'm like, was I cheating? Was I, like, am I part of this scandal? Like, everybody is in some way is doing something. So I'm sure you have kids coming up to you saying, hey, Jedd, I really need to get into Brown, man. Like, I know I didn't do well in that last test, but if you somehow just, not saying you do this, but like.
No, yeah, but
there's a negotiation.
Right, but they don't say it in that way. But you feel the pressure when they come up to you after a test. These are great kids, and they'll just say, "Is there anything I can do? I mean, please let me retake that." I'm like, if obviously every situation you need to figure out what the right thing is to do. But all I'm saying is, I wasn't like that in high school. I mean, I cared about how I did. Obviously, I wanted to do well, but I wasn't on the verge of tears if I received a B.
And that's why I think it's good that this story came to light, because I don't know if it's going to be for good or for bad, but I hope parents start to realize, like, wow, we're putting a lot of pressure on our kids, and at what cost and for what reason? Do our kids benefit from this? Are they stressed out, or is there more depression? So it's like,
got to be. I tell you what, depression is on the rise also, because this 100%. Is not something that's going away. And with everything with social media, and this person posts, I got into NYU, I got into Harvard, I got into Brown. You're like, damn, everyone's getting into
pissing match.
Yeah. But this, I think this whole thing also sheds light on the whole administrative admissions process. So kids come up to me nonstop. Can you write my recommendation letter? I'm writing, and I don't get paid extra. That's not something. And I put a lot of time into each one of those recommendation letters.
Yeah.
I've got like 25 to write. And that's not even – there are other teachers who write more than that. But I'm a teacher that I have good relationship with my students, so they have a feeling like he knows me. He can really convey in a recommendation letter how I am as a student. And they think that, so then they come to me and they ask me, and of course I say yes. And I'm sending a million recommendations letters to a college that requires recommendation letters.
Yeah.
It's like it cancels each other out. If every single kid has 2 recommendation letters, so that's just one thing. But then you go down another avenue of, the colleges are looking for ways to distinguish between kids, and they're putting a lot of pressure on kids to do certain things really well. And that's ultimately leading to the way that kids are feeling this pressure. And after a while, it's just impossible. You're not going to be able to get by unless you find a loophole, unless you cheat.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So how do we resolve this issue? Is it on you guys as teachers, is to, like, say the message to parents, like, and which is a tough thing to do? Like,
they won't listen to us.
Yeah,
it's not on us. It's on the universities. It's on the system. Until one school says, you know what, we're changing this whole thing up, and people are like, oh, that's actually not a bad way to do that.
Then it trickles down to everywhere. Yeah.
Either that, or the system just changes. Like, listen, if we have free education and it's based on merit, it's based on people are doing really well and they deserve an education that's free, but it's a quality education, maybe then people start focusing their attention on doing really well so they can get an education they don't have to be in debt for the rest of their life on.
Well, that, and also when college becomes free, it's not a competition of like what school you're going to now, you know, because it's just like we can all go to any school, you know. There'll obviously be,
but if you're afforded an education, you're gonna be all right. I mean, listen, I got my master's degree in the City University of New York, which for me was a great program, and for me it was free. The city paid for it. I'm working in one of the best high schools in the country right now. People go to Columbia Teachers College for $60,000 a year, and they have the same degree that I do. And they don't have that great of, they might not even have a job right now. All I'm trying to say is that a lot of this is prestige. Parents want their kids to look the best. Parents want to look the best.
Of course.
And it's just, it's a dangerous slope, because then you're willing to do anything to make sure that you uphold your status in society, your status in the neighborhood, or, you know.
Yep, of course. And that goes back to the point of this happens with jobs. This happens with anything else where, you know, there's legacy involved with, you know, a parent being involved with a company or something like that. So overall, I think it was good that this story came out. I think it's important that it came out because
I think it's awesome. I think this is something that people are finally like, damn, this whole process is, people don't think, no.
I think there's like big breaking stories that start the conversation, and it's around the perfect time where people are starting to announce their presidency. So like someone like Bernie Sanders can use this as a rallying point to say, hey, like this wouldn't happen if colleges are free, and use that as like his story to tell. So I think there's big important stories that need to break, something like this where you know the discussions continues on free college, where we don't have these stories anymore. Parents paying shady guys to do all this like weird stuff, because it's just
when it came out though, I'm not gonna lie, I was in a group chat with Sebastian, John, Matt, and we were just like, this is nuts. This is crazy.
Like millions of dollars to falsify
pictures, get coaches involved, get a kid. You know, so what it does also is then it's taking away from other students that are working their asses off. The whole thing is terrible. But if you take one good thing away from this, it's the fact that people are like, damn, this is what people are doing to get their kids into college.
I mean, we laugh at it, and like I'll say it, like we're fortunate just being white males, but like there's minority kids out there that are like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is what people are doing to get into college. Like, I'm over here like studying and writing papers and
busting
like
my ass. And
actually playing on sport teams and like doing this shit. And they're just taking a Photoshop and putting themselves in a canoe and they're going to Harvard. Like, it's wild, and it's like it's scary that we live in this world that is so corrupt, and it happens across the board. And the fact that like it happens with our president, and like you said, Jared Kushner, and like you see this in big businesses. Like, something I'm super frustrated right now is like James Dolan as the owner of the Knicks.
Did you see how
his interview?
He was like, he was like, oh, that's rude.
He banned a fan for that's a whole different
perfect example of like how terrible that just represented where that organization is.
Yeah.
You have a fan that's diehard, that's at a Knicks game. Why would anyone go to a Knicks game right now?
And that's the separation of like good businesses versus bad businesses. So you see an owner like Magic Johnson or something for the Lakers, or Mark Cuban with the Mavericks, and it's like Mark Cuban had nothing. He came up through college and went to Indiana and worked hard. Magic Johnson from Detroit worked hard. But someone like James Dolan, who was given the team, and like his father worked hard, they're terrible.
What they have, because they didn't earn it.
Exactly.
You earn something, and I'm gonna sound like a straight up old school father. Like, I'll give you $1 for your allowance, and you'll work for it because you'll understand. It's true. This is the truth. When you earn whatever you have, you're going to appreciate the shit out of it, because you're going to be like, I know how much I had to do to get this.
But then you also become more frugal too, which comes into the conversation of like conservatives versus liberals, where a lot of conservatives who have a lot of money don't want to give up their money, whereas, you know, liberals who...
Well, I think it's not just giving up money. I think their idea of where that money is going has a lot to do with why they don't want to give up their money. the narrative on that end, and this is just from my perspective as a regular tax-paying, hardworking, middle-class person, and I get crushed in taxes, just got crushed right now, is I think they have this vision that they've been fed where poor people are taking their money and just living off of their dimes. So they're like, well, why am I working my ass off when this person doesn't even work and now they're taking my money?
Yeah.
No mention of corporate welfare, no mention of anything that government does to bail out big banks. None of that.
Not paying taxes and stuff.
In the equation. It's just the reason that I want to hold on to my money, I don't want to pay taxes, is I'm not trying to help out this person. Why should I help them out? They think that their money's going to undocumented people. It's just, we live in a very gullible.
But I think that mindset comes.
Believe anything that they're fed.
Well, that mindset comes with. I think it starts with being selfish and not wanting to help other people.
I think it has something to do with it. Absolutely.
No,
I do. I think it also has to do with the fact that certain people believe that certain things are rights and certain things are privileges. If we're talking about healthcare, if we're talking about education, if you're talking about
abortion or something.
Yeah, but I mean, that I think goes into a different
bucket or something.
I think people are that's kind of different. What I'm talking about is what people believe should happen with their money. That if their money goes to another place, that
it's being used properly.
I'm going to take 50% of your paycheck, but it's going to go to do what's going to do. It'll go to renovate the streets in Ohio. I don't know. I'm making up a terrible analogy right now, but the bottom line is, if you feel like that's not worth your 50% of your taxes, you're going to be like, hell no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you that money. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And these people think like that. They're like, why should my money pay for someone to go to the emergency room or to go to have health care when they don't deserve it?
Yeah.
And my mind is like, don't we all deserve?
Well, and I think it's like we're all on the same team. So if you're doing something to benefit someone that you don't know what state or where they're from, and it's going to help, a bigger picture. So if that's going to build a road somewhere that could potentially create more jobs and put more money into the economy, that's going to benefit you indirectly somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I used that. That was like probably the worst analogy on the spot. But my whole thing is, I just feel like the whole idea behind, yes, there are people who feel like they've earned their money and they don't want to give it up. Fine. If you earned your money, that's fine. But if we're living in a society and there are certain people with needs, and some people believe that those needs should be fulfilled because they're basic human rights, and other people feel like, nope, not my problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like, again, there's a balance. Should we handle everything for everyone and give them less incentive to work? No, I'm not. No one's saying that. It's just, I feel like that's the idea that a lot of people have.
Yeah. No.
Why do we give tax benefits to companies that don't need them?
Yeah.
When people are making billions and billions of dollars. I sound like Bernie right now. But all I'm trying to say is the idea behind it being that the conversation is what the conservative politicians want it to be. That's the problem.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. And that's something that I think, Kyle mentions and a lot of people mentions, the liberals need to have like a little bit more of a backbone. And this is something that the reason why I like Bernie is because like he sets the narrative on talking points and then lets people follow him instead of chasing after a topic and saying, oh, the Republicans are talking about this, so I'm going to meet them there. It's like, no, fuck that. I'm going to talk about this and the stuff that I want to talk about, and you guys can meet me here, which is that's what's happened. Every other person who's starting to run as a Democrat is following everything that Bernie Sanders put on the table when he initially ran in, whenever it was, 2016 or something like that. So I think if you start the conversation and really believe in what you're, fighting for, people are going to follow. And you see that across the board with people who are passionate about anything. Like, I don't have an example, but there's probably a kid that I went to high school with who he loved doing yo-yos or something, or just doing some weird hobby, and he genuinely.
No, you're always gonna be successful with something passionate
that you care about.
I look at Kyle.
Yeah.
We were listening to his podcast when remember it was just like me and you and maybe Dad.
Yeah.
and it was just him.
Yeah, it used to be a chat room, and it would say like guest 54678, and I would tell them that's Jedd, that's my dad.
We'd be on the way to trivia or something at Mickey's. We'd be on the way to trivia, and we're like, okay, let's listen to Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it weren't for us, Kyle would have been talking to himself.
Yeah.
Like, he could have just called us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is he was passionate about it, and he stuck with it.
Yep.
And now he's got people
Huge
that
phone.
actually want to listen to him,
Yeah.
because he's stuck with what. If it's anything, if I didn't have a passion for what I do.
Well, that's why, I mean, I'll say this,
Spanish.
and I told this to Angel, it's not a good thing to really compliment your guest as they're sitting in front of you, but that's something I've always admired about you is you really. What?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, this is serious, and I've told you this before, but like something I've always admired about you is like you've always been passionate about whatever you're doing. You know, there's people who and something I'm passionate, like I really respect about Molly as well, and I'm sure you do with Tiffany, is like you guys become so ingrained and you really embrace whatever you're doing. You know, it's not like this is a drop in the bucket. I'm just going to try this, and this is something that. You know, she says when we raise Knicks is like if she starts a soccer class, if she starts something, she is going to see it through and she will finish it. And this is a bigger picture. Back to the college situation is like I'm sure these parents have let them quit. You know, one time every time where their kids
100%.
I don't want to do this. So it's like
I hope you put in the you know when you write the different
yeah.
You have to put parenting.
Yeah.
Because listen, we're early. We're still early in the parenting game.
100%.
But I know what I want. I know what I want to do. And one of the things is just that, because I've seen it. I've seen the whole. But everything comes back to the same theme. It's protect your kid.
Mm-hmm.
So they go through a little bit of adversity and they have a rough time on the soccer team. I'm just not for me. Okay, just quit. And you're like, oh. And then that's a learned behavior. And then from that point on, it's like, you know what? I don't like this.
They do everything.
Quit.
Yep.
Quit. So they never develop a passion for anything.
Yep.
They never feel, okay, fine. That kid doesn't like soccer and they suck. Fine. See it through.
At least they know that they suck.
Know what it is. Commit to something.
Yep.
And then once you're done, fine. That's fine. You tried it. I know that you gave it your best shot.
I don't know if you've ever seen, you're not really on Twitter heavy, but like this, I think I saw it on Twitter. On Twitter, Joe Rogan like retweeted it was a bear and like its babies or something were following it, and they were like trying to climb this like mountain. It was the most insane video I've ever seen. And like they kept like falling, so they'd climb and then like really fall back. So you were like nervous because they were hanging off the side of like a mountain.
Yeah.
And like one of the bears, like couldn't make it. And like the parent was just at the top of the thing, like just watching, like just like almost like some figure it out type of shit. So it's like that.
No one has to figure it out anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah, like those parents who are paying these USC professors and stuff like that need their kid to get rejected from that school and you know face that adversity of like
they never will.
I know, and that's why. I have so much more respect for these kids in the Bronx or, you know, in these lower, you know, like income areas that like get rejected so many times from these schools that are the ones that should be getting in that
Absolutely.
get rejected. And then they keep persevering, they keep battling, and they finally get into a smaller school and they, you know, they graduate and they apply for a job, like a respectable job at like Motorola or something like that. Whereas like
it doesn't matter. You're working.
Whatever it is.
You're making money. You're earning. You're doing something. You're contributing in some type of way.
Yeah.
But people can go through adversity on different levels.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to overcome a cycle of poverty that's incredible when people can fight through that and break the cycle of whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm talking about as a wrestling coach, watching a kid who's been given pretty much every opportunity in life,
mm-hmm.
teaching him, watching him step out on the mat, one-on-one against another human being.
Yeah.
He's going to need to figure out, this is the bear. This is the situation where that bear, I'm the bear at the top looking down and saying, you got to figure it out.
Yep.
I can't step on the mat.
Yep.
I can't come down the cliff and get you.
Yeah.
And watching something change in that kid and seeing the moment when he says, oh damn, I gotta do this for myself.
Yeah, I can do this.
And watching him just kind of rise to the occasion or not.
Yep.
And they don't always. And listen, I've seen kids just get straight up destroyed, and it's tough. And they step off the mat, and I just say, keep your head up, because you don't want to. But it's fine.
Yep. And
you're okay. You're okay. Are you dead? No. You come off the mat, you shake the kid's hand, and you have another match tomorrow.
Yep.
You come back to practice. I mean, it's just that mentality makes that kid so much stronger. It's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's only small. It's a small little bit of adversity that kid had to go through. But then they start to get stronger, and you see them by the end of the season where they're like, I'm ready to wrestle.
And a better person too, though. You know, like they're more. It humbles you too to lose. It humbles you to get beat, get demolished. You know, to lose 100-30 in a basketball game or something like that. Because it was Dr. Phil was on Joe Rogan. They actually had a good conversation. He said, "What fun would the story be if Michael Jordan, you know, won from elementary school up until the NBA Finals? He'd be the most boring guy ever. Like, he needed to get cut from his high school basketball team. He needed to, you know."
That's a line that every coach, by the way, uses when you have to cut a kid.
The Michael Jordan reference.
Every
yeah. Who knows? I doubt he even got cut from that damn basketball team. Like
he was definitely good his entire life.
Yeah.
No, but listen, every coach, I don't care where they are, who's cut a kid has said at one point,
the Michael Jordan.
Listen, Michael Jordan, best basketball player that ever lived. He got cut from his high school basketball team. Look what he did.
Yeah.
Well, you're telling like a.
Well, that's like the same thing with Steve Jobs or the Jeff Bezos story. You know?
Bezos?
Well, like they use the Steve Jobs and the Jeff Bezos. Like he started in his garage. He was doing, you know, like there's always going to be that story of like someone.
How Donald Trump's never mentioned on that list, huh?
Well, we got a funny. I mean, like Grandma. God bless Grandma.
Grandma. Yeah, Grandma.
But like,
I don't know.
She used to tell, or she tells me that like.
Grandma's still alive. For everyone who's watching, if anyone's watching,
yeah,
Grandma's still alive. She's 90 something.
If I'm in Florida, and she's like 94 or something, or 93 maybe. But if we're in Florida, she would be the best podcast guest. Like our grandma and I.
She doesn't give a shit.
What?
She doesn't give a shit.
Well, no, not even that she doesn't give a shit, but it's just like, and I'm sure everybody's got great grandmothers, and like so like when everybody says like everybody's got a great grandmother, but like our grandmother has just like done so much shit where it's just like she'll say she worked for the Golden Girls, and like she'll give like the mechanics some cookie, like she'll say like
been alive for so many years, and she was from Brooklyn, and just I mean like I feel like she's been so many places and done so many things, but the story that you're getting to is that she was in the laundry room of her building. Apparently Donald Trump's father owned that building they were in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Which is totally feasible. I mean, he could have been the owner of that building, but so she said that Donald Trump, his job at the time when he was young, was to go around to all the laundry rooms and basically collect all the quarters. Mm-hmm. And one day, Grandma was in there, and she put our mom, on the washing machine, and he said something like, "You don't put a kid on the washing." Well, he yelled at Grandma or something.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that part of the story.
Yeah, that he was very rude, and he was yelling at Grandma, and he was like, "Who do you think you are?" Or something like that.
See, I think that's you.
That was Donald Trump. That was Donald Trump, and Fred Trump was that was the father, and he.
You get that trait from Grandma, because I couldn't tell you one thing I did last week, whereas Grandma being 93 years old, how can she remember something when she's like probably 27 years old?
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff she doesn't remember, but I think there are I have vivid memories of kindergarten, but I couldn't tell you what happened maybe in first grade or second. There's just certain things that stick out in your mind, and I think that moment just stayed with her.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's a good point. Yeah. I want to get back to
trauma, but I think those moments of controversy, those moments of conflict, they do something to your body that for whatever reason make it stay with you. Think about anytime you've gotten into an issue on the road or some type of an almost fight, or
I think it's all in our brain, and it's just a matter of like, if you remember the story and you were to say like, "Hey, do you remember in DR when we were on the side of the road and those guys came up with the guns and held us up," which is a true story, by the way, which we could talk about on another podcast. But like, if
we'll do a DR podcast.
We'll do a DR podcast. That'll be fun. But like, if you have a memory and you give me one little trinket from it, then I'll find it in my database somewhere, and like, you know, the story will start coming back a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or you'll make up a false memory about it, and
yeah. And the worst thing you could do to a person is be with them and say, yo, you remember that time we were at that spot, and then you remember there was that thing that happened, and you're like, oh, I remember that was crazy. You're like, yo, it didn't happen. That'd probably be the worst thing you could do to somebody.
Yeah. I want to get back to the education question, a certain part of the education question that I'm curious to hear your thoughts on. And I have a personal story to it, which you are very much involved in the story. Legacy at school. So just recently, Meghan McCain was on The View, and she started tearing up or something like that because Joy Behar made a comment that like she doesn't think legacy is like, why is someone entitled to go to a school just because their father went there? You know, the kid could be an idiot. And she was making the argument that like her whole family had went to the Naval Academy, and that her brother got in because her father got in, which maybe it could be a different case for, you know, some type of military academies, because like if your father or your uncle or someone had the courage to put their life on the line, then like,
right,
similar how it is to
state troopers. When I took the state trooper exam, however long ago, one of the questions was, did you have a parent that served, and you got extra points for that?
Yeah.
If you got 100 on your test, you could still get extra points if you had military service, or if you had a person that in your family, you know. So that I
could see that side of it too, because like we have our father was in the Air Force, and we have access to USAA as insurance because of that. So it's like there should be perks for someone who is, you know, fighting for our country.
You could probably be like, yo, I know this guy down the street that was in the Air Force, and they'd be like, we'll let it slide.
I mean, like, I always take a little bit of pride that like Dad was in the Air Force.
No, which, take all the pride in the world.
I know, but like, because I am too much of a coward. It never once crossed my mind to fight in the military or do any of that stuff. But like, Dad didn't even have an option. You know, it wasn't a choice for him. And back then, it was like you were drafted into service, and I can't imagine.
He chose. I mean, he said, if I'm going to get drafted, I might as well do something that I want to do.
Yeah.
So then he went into the Air Force.
But I can't imagine that being now, like not having an option to say no, like to have to go put your life on the line.
Well, I was in 10th grade. 9/11 happened. We were watching the towers come down, and all I kept thinking, and all of the other guys in the class, we kept looking at each other like, are we about to get drafted? Are we going to go to war?
Yeah.
Is this really going to go down right now?
Yeah.
That was a thought in my head, and it was this moment of, holy shit.
Mm-hmm. It's scary when someone like a Trump is in office, where it's just like you don't know what these people are capable of.
Wild card.
It's a wild card. All right. So my question is, outside of maybe military service or something like that, what's your take on legacy for colleges? Because before you answer, let me just tell my story real quick.
Yes.
So you went to, you know, you and our sister Davina went to SUNY Binghamton, which is a great school in upstate New York. And you were going to be a senior. Davina was going to be a junior, and I would have been a freshman. So I was graduating high school. My grades were about maybe, I don't know, like 78 to 82 range. My SATs weren't that great. But I was under the impression that, like, hey, my parents are paying for my brother to go there, my sister to go there. You were an RA, so you were like doing a service to the school to be like some type of counselor for kids who are living in the buildings or whatever like that. So I was in the impression like this legacy shit better get me into the school. It ended up not getting me into Binghamton because it didn't work out.
The admissions office, and I straight up asked for an appointment and sat down. And
so what's your take on legacy? Do you think kids should be granted access to a school because, you know, families members have went there?
Considering I want Camila to go to Binghamton, obviously I would say, but realistically, hell no.
Yeah, I agree.
Think about that for a second. You're solidifying the cycle of enabling kids to go to a school that they may or may not. Listen, if a kid's able to get into Harvard, good for him or her. That is impressive. I had a student last two years ago. Wow, I'm losing track of time. State champion wrestler, going to Harvard, starts on Harvard's wrestling team, but he would have gotten in academically. Just an all-around amazing kid. Kid like that, his parents didn't go to Harvard, and he just is an awesome kid. So you have a kid like that works his ass off and gets in and deserves it. And then you've got Jared Kushner.
Yeah.
Whose
father was paying that guy.
He gave father gave $1 million something donation, but whatever. All I'm trying to say is that's one example. But if just this kid happens to be the son or the daughter of a person that went to that school, so that person gets a slot over this guy, they have the same exact requirements. They both have the same SAT scores. They both did the same extracurriculars. And then that kid gets in because his father happened to be born to a father who went to that school. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Who was probably on the board of the school or something like that. I just think there's always going to be corruption in any field you're trying to get involved with. And, legacy is one of those things where if you're going to a pretty good school and your parent is still involved with that school, still donates to that school, you're going to have a good shot to get into that school. So, maybe I didn't get into Binghamton.
That's what keeps those schools alive, because those people are the ones that they know they can count on for those donations every year. And no one does anything altruistically in this world. You donate $1 million to a school, it's not because I just think that those students deserve a good education.
Yeah.
Listen, I donate $50 to Binghamton every year. I don't look for anything in return. It's $50, but it's because I had a great experience there. The school was amazing. I had the time of my life. I had a great education. So when I look back on that and I think to myself, if I can donate $50 and it can help for whatever, then it's worth it to me.
Yeah.
But people are donating large amounts of money. Think about campaign finance, all of that.
Yep.
It's tied into the same conversation. All they're doing is just trying to solidify something for themselves.
Yep. No, I agree. I think you're a rare a rare breed that would donate. And I'm sure if you were at Binghamton trying to park somewhere and they wouldn't let you, you would probably throw out a comment like,
I donate to this school.
No, you would say to yourself or someone in the car like, I donate $50 to the school every month. I can't park in this damn spot. It's ingrained in us to have that.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel you. Yeah. I think that my lizard, primal, primitive brain would go to that place.
Yeah.
You're right, because that's what we do as humans. That's why we get angry when someone cuts us off, and it's like, oh, okay, so it was slightly dangerous for a split second. He's okay, I'm okay.
And that's why I think this story that broke is a bigger picture of just who we are as human beings. Is like when we have leverage, we're going to take it, So like if I can get Nix into an earlier swimming class because it accommodates my schedule a little better than a different class does, but I have to maybe I don't know, give the instructor a basketball or something like that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
so it's
everyone's looking for an advantage any way they can get it.
Any way that they can get it, and that's who we are as people, and I think that's what we need to change. And I think we're on the right path when stories like these break and people start to realize that they can't do this stuff anymore, or if they do that, like if a parent were to come to you now and say, "Hey, Jedd, I need my son to get into Michigan. What are we doing here?"
Yeah, been there in other situations.
Yeah, and you've told me something, and you're probably you're different from other teachers where you said no, because if I do this for this guy, he's going to expect me to do this for him, and it's like, that's when you start getting a slippery slope, and that's where that's where there's all this corruption comes in. So that brings us full circle of the argument. I think it was just a very interesting topic. I've heard a lot of people talking about it, and I was just very curious to hear your thoughts on it. My sister Davina never really posts on Facebook. She even posted the article on Facebook.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she posted the article on Facebook and was just like, wow, because it's like this stuff is interesting and people need to hear about it, So in a way, as bad as Donald Trump is, when he starts bringing to light these shady stuff that goes on in our government, we need to hear this stuff, whereas maybe some other presidents keep this stuff under wraps, and it's like you don't see what goes on behind the curtain. So he's the worst president ever. Let me say that.
No, I know. I told this to Angel too. I said, when he sent me that video, those kids just being crazy at a party and racist and everything, the first thing I said to him was, you know what? Look at it for what it is. If there's one thing that Donald Trump did, He brought out all these people and
he turned the rock over and all the cockroaches came out.
Absolutely. Whereas those cockroaches would be under there still plotting. And listen, some of those cockroaches are the ones that are in admissions offices. And, you know, I'm not saying anything specific. I'm just saying that you don't know who those people are.
Yep.
And now you kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they slip in public or whether they just say something outright. And it's like this. You expose the corruption, and it's a starting point. It starts the conversation. Will it change? As long as there's all this money involved, probably not. The system needs to change.
Yeah.
The system needs to change. Kids are this is not sustainable for our country.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it. I'm in that classroom every single day. I teach 11th graders and 9th graders, and it's this. I see 7th graders freaking out about college.
Yeah. And if it's not that,
it's just the system. It's college telling you need to have these grades. You need to do these extracurriculars. You need to be this type of student.
Yep. And then it gets to the job field where it's just like, oh, we need you to have this now. We need you to have a master's, and it's just like more money on more money, and it's like you got to have 5 years experience to do this. So it's like, if it's not one thing with colleges, it's the next thing with a job, and it's the next thing that, you know, gets back on a kid to get either more depressed or.
There was a big cheating thing that went down in my school last year, and a math teacher, he had said something very profound that stayed with me, that resonated with me. And he said to the students, because we had an assembly, we talked about it, and the school handled it really well, I felt, and it was. Many people could point to the whole pressure and say that it was because of that, whatever. The motivation is whatever people want it to be. But the bottom line is this math teacher stood up and he spoke to the entire class, and he said, you guys think that you're in this moment right now and you need to cheat or you need to do whatever you need to do to get to this one point. It's like you got checkpoints. And then you get to that and you say, okay, well, what's next? Is it a college application? Is it this? And you're living for that moment. And then you just do what you need to do. You cheat, you get by, you find a loophole, and you get to that moment. Until you reach just the moments are endless. If you're living your life like that, and at every single moment you're just looking for a way out, you're looking for a loophole or a way to cheat, or you'll just keep finding yourself in this endless pattern throughout your life.
Yep.
If you just live your life and you just go through the journey and you're doing your thing and you're living your life to enjoy every moment, and you're going to accept the fact that failure comes sometimes, and you're going to be a much happier person. You're going to be a better person overall, and you're probably going to learn a whole lot more. And he said that, and it was even like the whole class. So watching an auditorium full of students.
That's a good speech.
Making fart noises. All it would have taken in that one moment would have been a
fart noise.
That's all it would have taken. In that whole entire audience would have just been laughing.
Yeah.
No one did anything. The students were like, damn, that's crazy. Now, I mean, we go to a school with great kids. If it were my high school, where I went, or your high school.
Yeah. But you don't know. I mean, maybe it would, like, I would have teachers that would.
Not. Maybe it would have been like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have teachers that, like, if they get their point across in the right way, it sticks with some kids, and the kids it doesn't stick with are going to be the ones that rob a grocery store or something like that, you know, or put out like some rap CD that is on Spotify or some shit. Like, I think desperate times like call for desperate measures. So like kids are going to do bad things, and not having that understanding of just enjoying the moment as opposed to like what's next. And someone said that, I don't know if it was Rogan talking to me and Kyle backstage or if he said it on air, but it's just like, you tell yourself, I forgot who he's talking to, but he made a great point. And he was just like, when I was younger, I said to myself, like, if I get $500,000, man, I'd be the happiest guy in the world. I wouldn't want anything else. He was like, I got $500,000. And I was like, man, I need $1 million now. Like, I need a boat. Like, I got the Mercedes, I need the boat. And he got $1 million. And he was like, now I need 2 boats. Like, I got to have a backup boat. And it's just like, he didn't stop. And then like he called his dad one day or something, and his dad was just like, go back to your 18-year-old self and look at that conversation you had where it's like, if you had $500,000, would you be happy? He was like, like, fuck yeah. Like, he was like, so just be happy with where you're at. You know, like, it's not always what's next. And that's something that, like, I try to live by, is just like,
well, it's okay to be aspirational.
Yeah.
It's okay to just keep striving for better.
Mm-hmm.
But when that is based in something materialistic, or it's based in something that
is unattainable.
Well, I mean, even if something is unattainable, but it's something that is a good goal to strive for.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. I get it. You know, if you want to be a world champion in jiu-jitsu, it might be unattainable. However, it might give you the motivation that you need to keep going back and back, and you get beat up and you come back and you get beat up.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, when that goal is based in something that you believe your happiness is depending on.
Yep.
When you're putting all of your stock in one thing, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
You're done. You're never going to be happy, because all you're going to do is keep searching for that other thing that's going to make you happy, and you never will.
I agree. And even to wrap a bow again on the education story, those mothers and those kids are probably not happy people. You know, like, everything, they might look happy, they're on TV shows, but, like, they're not happy if they're doing that type of stuff. Someone who's happy is going to let their kid get rejected from school or something like that. So
Well, it's just values.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're happy or not, they value the wrong shit.
Yeah.
Their mindset is so wrong. And listen, do those kids even need college?
No. Yeah, that's a good point.
They're taking the spot of someone who's really trying hard to be there.
That's a great point.
Do those kids need college? This girl I just saw this today, had a YouTube channel where she was, like, talking about college, and this is my dorm, and Amazon sent me all these things and blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, your mom was Aunt Becky. You're okay.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
No, I agree. And I think that's...
She had a passion, and she was like, I want to go to college because I want to... You see some celebrity kids, and you're like, nah, I'm going to NYU. I just really want to study this thing. It's just my passion. I love this. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
When this girl is there messing around, I think on one thing, I saw her say something like, oh, I wasn't a good student. I'm really not about this whole academics stuff. It's like, go home.
Yeah, I saw the Daily News had one. I don't know which celebrity it was, but it was one of the women who had their kids, and it was like their son was in NYU, but they caught up with his son, and, like, he was, like, sitting on a stoop, like, smoking a blunt or something, and he said to the reporter, like, oh, like, check, like, nah, I'm not into school, like, I'm a rapper, check out my mixtape, and, like, he had some mixtape or something like that, and it was just like,
okay,
it's just, like, sad, but that's just the way it is. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. Kids are always going to have, you know, different opportunities than other kids. Just a matter of persevering, and, you know, people listening, like, you know, if they feel, like, depressed, or they feel like they don't have the same opportunities as other people, like, unfortunately, like, that's just the world we live in, you know, and it's just a matter of, like, embracing that, and, you know, trying to just keep going. And so that's that. I just wanted to, I mean, like, we could end it, but like I said, you
should start recording now.
What's that?
You should start recording.
I hope it recorded. I always get nervous. I'll let Molly handle that.
If you didn't record it.
But did you see Cory Booker is dating Rosario Dawson?
No.
Yeah. I don't even know how that's a thing. Like, I thought she was with the guy who sang, like, that song, Michael Bublé or whatever.
Michael Bublé.
No, what's the guy's name with the hair?
Oh, the guy with the hair?
You know who I'm talking about, who sang "I Know You Want It."
Oh, Robin Thicke.
Thicke.
He was with Paul Patton.
Oh, okay. That's like Rosario Dawson is like an older version of her, right?
They're not together anymore though, but they have a kid or something.
Oh, really?
No, Rosario Dawson is from. You know who Rosario Dawson is?
I know who she is, but she is like a beat up version.
She was Amy in Rent.
Oh, was she?
Would you light my candle?
Oh yeah, I remember that. What was the other one? It was just
She was in the Rock movie where they were like in Brazil and they were trying to find like that.
Yeah.
Monkey figure thing.
What was Davina's Broadway play with the like the candy bars?
Oh no, I Never Saw Another Butterfly or something like that.
Yeah, but what did they sing? It was just like Mellow Mars.
Oh no, that wasn't that.
You know what I'm talking about though, right?
The Sick Boy.
Yeah, but what did he sing? What he was just like Milk Duds, like it was some shit like that, right?
Yeah, you should start singing on the podcast more.
No.
M&M's.
Yes, that was it. That was it.
I know.
Oh. All right. Well, like I said,
Anyway.
you are invited back on.
Making it through all this conversation. I hope so. I hope people listen to the whole thing. I don't know that they will.
I always say that in Kyle Corin. We go for 2 hours, and I'm like, I'm just gonna say some wild stuff right now because nobody's
people
listening.
Should put it on 1.5 speed, and just because then it'll be, No,
let people listen to the other speed, man.
No, or whatever. I mean, it's a good way. Sebastian taught me that.
Yeah, I know, a little faster. Someone wrote that in the comments once.
I would just listen to it on 1.5, and I just get through so much more content.
Joe Rogan spoke to Alex Jones for 5 hours, and someone was like, put it on this speed. I was like, I'm not listening to anything for 5 hours.
Especially not Alex Jones.
Yeah. But no, I mean, an hour is not long. I think what we said was interesting. And like I said, you got to come back and talk about the R stories and just like being a being a white Spanish teacher and always just having people, we have stories of Puerto Rico and like before we were both married, girls talking to you in Spanish.
You should get on the show. You should get La Papa.
And I mean, talk about
Spanish. I'll translate.
Yeah, I got to figure out if there's a way to do
a little like Joey Diaz, Joel Romero. I'll do the whole thing.
All he would say the whole podcast is just, Corin, open the door.
He's got a story to tell. I mean, he's been through a lot.
No, I know.
Got his kid over here in the States.
I mean, I'm not saying.
He's been trying to come here. No. Like you want to talk about immigration stuff like that. That's the man to speak to.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that shit.
But he could tell you. He's been through it.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, I love you. Thank you for staying up late. I know you've got school tomorrow and stuff like that, and it was late. So
it's Friday.
We both look tired. We are very tired. But this will be live tomorrow, and hopefully there's more people that break in the scandal. Hopefully, like Oprah Winfrey was trying to send kids like through her foundation or some weird stuff. They try to link Obama because his kid's tennis teacher was one of the people that were supposedly like falsifying records. So they try to link Obama to it.
They try to say Obama wasn't born in the United States, man. They try to say.
The Bernie Sanders one was hilarious because it was just like some random person who worked in his organization who like gave like just a weird shoulder rub to a girl, and then the headline was Bernie Sanders sexual harassment.
They're gonna try to hit. I mean, but listen, Bernie is straight up, man. He's like, listen, did we have a successful campaign that grew very rapidly? Yes. Was I able to manage everything? No. Were there mistakes? Yes. I hate when I do like if I answer my own questions. Well,
I thought that's what you were going for.
No, but I mean, ultimately, I think he just everything that he does. I'm just like, yes, Bernie.
I disagree with Kyle on one point. Kyle made it a video.
The last point, because then we're gonna go to bed because people are gonna watch this and be like, "Yo, shut up."
Okay, no, I mean, I could talk to Kyle about this, like on our show, but he said that Bernie wasn't responsible at all for that, that sexual harassment thing because he's out on campaign and doing all this stuff. If
he took a Trump stance, he would just be like, "No, I don't know. I deny. I don't know." But he's real, man. Like
he's good.
His name was on the campaign.
Yeah.
Where if your name is on something, there's some responsibility there.
Yeah. You're the president of a company. You should know what is like. Someone should report to you, "Hey, this happened."
Yeah. And if it doesn't, then and if they don't, and something goes down, then at some point, at some level, you are responsible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's end it. We've been going for a while. All right. I love you. Thank you for coming on and talking. I appreciate it a lot.
Just kept talking.
Oh, did I cut you off?
No, I could have. No, I'm saying like I could have just kept going. Like
no, I mean we have way more stuff to talk about. We got so many other stories.
Oh, do a Kyle and Corin. Someone commented like, "Yo, Corin, you've been on your podcast killing it, but where's Kyle and Corin? You got to do another Kyle and Corin."
I know we're planning to do one tomorrow. So Kyle and Corin, we're planning to do one on Friday, which hopefully will drop over the weekend. We got a lot to talk about just because I've been traveling and Kyle was a little sick. So, I mean, like, we have a couple weeks where we go off and on.
You'd be good.
And I'll be in New York, so hopefully we'll do something live. Yeah, no, shout out to everybody who's commenting.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love reading it. It's so cool.
In the beginning, I was responding to a lot, and I fell off a little bit, but I still will start responding back to you guys. I really appreciate, people from other countries who write, like, I'm listening in from Scotland.
Not a place.
Scandinavia.
India
and all these places. Like it's really, really, really cool to see. And like even in New Orleans,
I'll try to respond to anyone, but they'll probably be like, I don't want to hear from you, dude.
No, hopefully you keep the trend going because I had my boy Quiet Giant on, who's a good looking dude. Angel's a super good looking dude.
I'm on my like I don't give it.
No, but we'll see what the comments say about you because they've said, "What do you only have good-looking friends?"
Oh no, yeah, no. Give me like
No, you look good.
I just had a shoulder surgery. I'm gonna get back in the gym. I got to get a little bit of sun sometime soon.
And people came out of the woodwork for like the woodwork. What's the saying?
Yeah, the woodwork.
People came out of the woodwork for Angel. There was like random girls commenting, and then I was like, "How do you even know about my channel?" And they were just like,
Angel brings them out, man.
I think he planted some of his own little own seeds.
He made burner accounts.
Yeah, he's got burner accounts with like good default pictures saying like, "Oh, this guy's got
like,
great
damn,
teeth."
Angel's bad. I might have to do the same thing.
All right, let me log off. I'm ready to go
you.
to bed.
Okay.
I love you.
Okay.
All right.
Later.
You can say I love you back on the air.
I said I love you like 4 times.
Oh, sorry. I feel like my voice is louder than sometimes my guests, which is a good thing.
All right, whatever.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
You.
Love you too.
Love you. Okay. Love you. Bye.